Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Chu. I am a designer by training and a software engineer by trade. I'm here today to talk about my research on how accessible design decenters disability. But before that, I'd like to thank a few people who are not obligated to help with my research, but have been very generous in sharing their time, energy, and knowledge with me. Thank you, Alex Hagart and Liz Jackson, who have taken me under their wings, helping me navigate the many nuances in the disability culture. I'd also like to thank a few dear friends, Lucy Greco, who advised on my thesis, Jordan Castor, Sean Henning, and Ryan Dorr have provided important perspectives and feedback for my thesis. Many of my stories that shaped my thesis are not my own. I'm not disabled, and so I cannot identify with the lived experience of a disabled person. But my thesis talks about ableism. Ableism is the discrimination against disabled people. I can identify, here you go. Ableism is discrimination against disabled people. I can identify with discrimination because I have experienced racism, homophobia, and through the strong women in my family, I have witnessed sexism. Another connection I have with disability and accessibility is through my work as a software engineer. I have done accessibility work for a browser engine called WebKit, and I'm a user interface engineer with a design background. And so I have deep understanding of accessibility from a design and a technical perspective. For as long as I have been a software engineer, I know I exist in an ableist system that often excludes disabled people. I have witnessed blind engineers having to give up coding because of inaccessible interfaces. Meanwhile, many companies are still dragging their feet to hire disabled people. The critique I'm making today is about how accessible design that is born out of this ableist system perpetuates ableism, sometimes accidentally, other times intentionally. I believe accessible design should center on disabled people. If they choose so, they should be able to design and build accessible solutions based on their own experiences, not for free, but to be hired and make a career out of it. That's not to say that as non-disabled people, that accessibility is none of our business. We can support the disability community without centering ourselves. The goal of my research is to amplify disabled experiences, to show my fellow non-disabled tech workers that accessibility is not just about problem solving. Using critical thinking to question status quos, we can extrapolate our domain knowledge that focuses on problem solving to a larger social context that seeks to demolish existing oppressive systems. At the beginning of this program, I had a lot of questions. For example, why do we teach visual design principles in design schools, but not auditory, tactile, or other design principles? Why do we not have more disabled people in boardrooms where decisions are being made? As I went through many interviews and discussions, it became clear to me that there's a lack of disability representation in software design. The questions that drove my research were, how are disabled people represented in design? And when people talk about accessible design, who is at the center of the discussion? My first case study is the web accessibility icon. The icon represents digital access that centers on how disabled users use technology. Visually, the icon centers a human figure that resembles Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. Both figures are at the center of a circle, stretching out their limbs, almost touching the circumference. But the Vitruvian Man is a non-disabled representation. This is something that has been extensively discussed by critical access study scholar, Dr. Amy Hamray. Da Vinci was inspired by the Architettura, a 10-volume treatise on Roman architecture, written by Roman architect Vitruvius. Vitruvius wrote about the so-called ideal human body proportions and used that as a template to define beauty in Roman architecture. Now, the Roman Empire was an ableist society. It equated physical and mental disabilities to moral weaknesses. Also, according to the law of 12 tables, which was the foundation of ancient Roman law, disabled children were to be stoned to death. And so created based on the ableist Roman ideals, the Vitruvian man represents someone who is not disabled. By depicting Vitruvian figure at the center, the web accessibility icon appears to be centering non-disabled people. The same icon is also used to symbolize accessibility overlays. An accessibility overlay is a type of interface that claims to make websites accessible, but does not. In describing her experiences in using these overlays, human rights lawyer, speaker, and author Haben Girma says, and I quote, "Personally, I have tried testing some of those and the experience was absolutely terrible," end quote. On the screen is a screenshot of an accessibility overlay that is built by a company called Userway. In the overlay, there are many buttons with different accessibility features. But because I have limited time today, I will just be talking about the dyslexia-friendly button. Clicking on the button changes the font of the entire page to a dyslexic-friendly typeface. Dyslexic-friendly typefaces are designed to supposedly help dyslexic readers to read faster. The Spanish Ministry of Education and Science funded a study to find out if dyslexic-friendly typefaces are actually helpful to dyslexic readers. The study recommended Helvetica and Curia over Open Dyslexic, the dyslexic typeface used in the study. I couldn't help but wonder, if not for dyslexic readers, who and what is the feature designed for? Even more unsettling is when these companies try to erase the community they claim to serve. Accessibility is another accessibility overlay company. At the beginning of this year, when Accessibility got another round of venture funding of $28 million, there was a lot of tension between the company and the blind users who publicly criticized the company's overlay. On February 28th, the company described its critics as hostile on Twitter. Here is an excerpt of the tweet, and I quote, "We take feedback very seriously. Not engaging in hostile Twitter threats does not mean we're not listening," end quote. According to Chancey Fleet from the National Federation of the Blind, on a call with Accessibility, the company's leadership talked over speaking participants and referred to them as extremely hostile critics. At the center of Accessibility's design is not the disability community. It is a total of $40 million of venture funding between 2020 and 2021. So for me, the next phase of my research will take place at NYU. I'm planning on applying research methodologies from the field of human-computer interaction to study user behavioral patterns related to disability and web technologies. I'm hoping to be able to identify user patterns that are common on web interfaces so that maybe someday someone can use my data to create design principles that do not exclude disabled people. If you'd like to connect, my email is ciao.aaron.chu@gmail.com. My Twitter handle is the @SUPERARONA. Before I go, I'd like to leave you with one website. Today is Global Accessibility Awareness Day. In the spirit of raising awareness without decentering the disability community, I invite you to learn more about disability representation at criticalaccess.org, a project run by Alex Haggard and Liz Jackson. The address is http://criticalaxis.org. If you need a copy of the deck, please let me know. Please reach out. I will send you a deck. I was completing it late, so I couldn't send it before the presentation. Thank you very much.